Hola, my name's Mayela. I'm from Mexico, but I have lived in Florida in the United States since 1995. That's kind of where my nightmare story begins with urinary tract infections. I have a chronic embedded urinary tract infection, and for years I've had blood in my urine. Nobody known the cause for it. I've had every single test throughout the years. And they always tell me everything's perfectly normal. Everything's healthy. There's nothing wrong with you. I always had that blood behind the back of my head because even though it didn't give me any problems, but it was there. There's something causing that blood, but nobody ever knew. Now, this is not visible blood, but this is blood that the tests can detect. So if they do a urine dip test, it'll blood will be to the max. And even though I can't really see blood, but there's still a lot of blood in there. So I started seeing this blood, or doctors started telling me I had blood in my urine when I had my children. Because, you go to the doctor to check you for your pregnancy and you have to pee in a cup. So ever since then, I would pee in a cup and there was blood in my urine. That's when I first started to be told that I had blood in my urine. So I had blood in my urine since, at least I know, since 2005, 2006, when my daughter was born. That's when they started telling me I had blood in my urine, but I've had blood in my urine every single day since then. And my story goes way back. It starts in college. When I got my first urinary tract infection, I had a urinary tract infection, and I went to the clinic, and they said, there's no sign of infection. And, but, there's a little bit of blood. There was a little bit of blood back then. So, who knows, maybe I got an infection when I was a kid. Who knows? I don't remember, but for me, I count the first one as this one in college. I don't know where I got it. I think maybe one of the pools. I used to swim in all the pools. I used to swim every day at the gym pool. I don't know, just one day I got a really, really bad infection, and they told me there's no signs of infection, no bacteria, just blood. We'll give you 3 days antibiotic. It kind of went away, but then it came right back because 3 days is not enough to eliminate an infection. So the problem is the tests they use. They're so unreliable, now we know, but they still use them. These are outdated tests, and they kind of go from, there's a line, you have this amount of bacteria past this line, will count it positive. If only a few bacteria on this side of the line, will count it negative. But even a little bit of bacteria can cause a problem. So that's the problem, starts with the tests. So I got negative culture tests. That means negative, no bacteria. I obviously had bacteria, and it was a really bad infection. And since I still had a little bit of blood in my urine, the second time I came back, they gave me 3 more days of antibiotic. And kind of the symptoms kind of went away. I kind of wasn't sure. It was like one of those, did it go away? Yeah, I think it went away. And then it kind of went away. Well, now I know it did not get eliminated completely. It got embedded in my bladder wall, and it went dormant, to a dormant state. So our leading doctor in embedded chronic urinary tract infections is Dr. Lee Malone in the UK. And he has been researching these infections for at least 40 years, he says in his interview. You can find his interviews on YouTube. There's a 4-part interview that has great information on embedded urinary tract infections. You just need to search for Professor Lee Malone interview. Make sure you have professor and interview, and you'll find them. He explains an embedded urinary tract infection better than anyone. But the bacteria does get embedded in your bladder wall, and he says it can go dormant for years before it can give you trouble again. So I believe that's exactly where mine started, when I got that first urinary tract infection in college, and they didn't treat it properly because of my negative cultures. And instead of treating you for your symptoms, they believed that unreliable tests. So I didn't really have any trouble with urinary tract infections until I had my children. I had my first child in 2006, and I started to get urinary tract infections after I had sex. Sex would trigger it, and I'd get an infection. My biggest problem was getting an infection and having to go to the doctor, and them having to tell me that I have no infection because my cultures came out negative and no signs of infection. But there was always that blood in my urine that kind of saved me. Because of that blood in my urine, they would give me antibiotic and it would go away. It was really easy back then. I would get it maybe once a year. It wasn't even that bad. A urinary tract infection once a year. They had, they see that as normal, no big deal. But the blood was there. The blood, I always had that blood in the back of my head. It's like, I know there's something wrong with me because there's blood there. But they would do all these tests to try to find out why there's blood. All the tests always came out good, and there's nothing wrong with me. So once a year urinary tract infection, wasn't that bad. They'd give me antibiotics, thank God, because of the blood, and they would go away. So then I had my twin boys. After the twin boys, it started to get more complicated. I started having urinary tract infections after sex every single time. So after like 5 in a row, they sent me to the urologist, and I actually had a good urologist that one time. Then he retired, and then down with the urologist after that. But that first one, he said, he believed me. He said, yeah, some women get infections and the cultures come out negative. I believe that you have infections. What we're going to do is you're going to have antibiotic with you all the time, and you're going to take one before sex, one after sex, and that should prevent an infection. And it did. It kind of, I kind of stopped having the infections as long as I would take my one before, one after. Every time I had sex, I had no infections. I went like that for years. The problem began when I started to get closer to my 40s. It was like in the 39. Those infections were not responding anymore to the before and after preventive antibiotics. So I started to get infections, and I had to go to the doctor again, and they would tell me again, there's no sign of infection. But there was the blood, so they would give me antibiotic. Again, it would save me, but it started to get complicated because it wouldn't just go away like before with one round of antibiotic. I would have to go to one round. It didn't really get rid of it. It got better, but not rid of it. They would give me a different one, and they would give me a different one, only because my very wonderful GP, family doctor that we have, he believed me. But there's other women that they don't get antibiotic, and they are left with an infection that will take them to the hospital or give them kidney infections. So thank God I never got bad from it, because my doctor would always give me antibiotic. It's now by this time you have already tried all the natural remedies, right? It's like you've already tried every single protocol out there, from the oregano oils to the herbs to the demonoses to the apple cider vinegars. I mean, you've already tried everything, right? So the only thing that gets rid of this infection is the antibiotic. So here you are starting to get worried because now it doesn't go away with a simple round of antibiotic. Now you have to have several rounds of antibiotic before one of them finally makes it stop. And I had my really first bad one when I was 40 years old. Now I know also that when you get in your perimenopause years, when you start getting perimenopause, walking towards menopause, you get atrophy from the low drop in hormone levels. You get atrophy in your vagina and in your bladder and in all your vulva. Everything starts to dry up and there's atrophy. And that's why I think that as we get older, well, two things. The infection is getting bigger, and then on top of that, you have atrophy from low hormones. And so it's very difficult to get rid of these infections now. Now I know those are the active infections because the embedded infection, has been there for years, and it's been there damaging your blood cells, your bladder wall cells. And that's where the blood comes from. That's why I've had blood all these years. Now I know, but I didn't know for years. I didn't know nothing about this. Not one single doctor has ever, in all the years of missing doctors for these infections, not one had ever mentioned an embedded urinary tract infection. So here I am having a very scary moment where infections don't go away now, and you have to go through rounds of antibiotics to finally, when it goes away. And I got one when I was 40 years old, one when I was 43, very difficult to treat. And then this last one, I'm 46 now. I got it when I was 45 in November. I'm 46 now. One that never went away. So once you hit this point, when you get a chronic urinary tract infection that will not go away, and you have had infections for years and you lose it, you're in so much pain. Medicine's not working. It makes it better, but it's not eliminating it. And doctors don't know what to do anymore. And you are just crying your eyes out every day. And you have fever. These infections are really strong, especially because it's not just a little bit of bacteria anymore. You have a colony of bacteria now from years and years. The bacteria have been eating up your cells, and now you have, that's just like the world of bacteria in your bladder wall. So you end up giving up with a urologist that don't want to help you. They will tell you have IC, which is a damaged bladder, and they tell you there's no cure for it. That's how you're going to live for the rest of your life. And you have no infection. You know you have an infection, so you don't give up, right? So you know that you've always responded to antibiotics. You know that it's the only thing that has ever cured it. So you go and start looking, doing research, until you finally find Joanne's Facebook group page. It's called Embedded Chronic Urinary Tract Infection. Go look for it if you think you have recurring infections, chronic infection, somebody that has trouble with urinary tract infections. You will find all the answers in Joanne's Facebook group page. You'll find the right doctors to go to. You'll find what you have. There's a big campaign in the UK and another big campaign in Australia now for these infections. The women want to be heard. My hope is by sharing my story, they're gonna pay more and more attention as more of us share it. And doctors, there'll be more doctors to help you. Doctors don't know about this. If they know, they choose to tell you you have ICE and you're gonna live with it for the rest of your life, because it's very difficult to treat, and they're not even gonna go there. They don't even wanna spend any time trying to get you better from this, which is like a nightmare. And we hope that by sharing our stories, they're gonna pay more attention to this. Now, I finally found Joanne's page. I found all the answers. I found what I have. I found thousands of women with my story. I found thousands of women with my story. I found the right doctors. I found the right information. I found treatment. I went through months of crying every single day. This last active infection I got that wouldn't go away. I was in so much pain. I had fever. I had chills. I had fever. I was feeling awful. No one would know what to do, how to help me. I said, thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Joanne, for your Facebook page. It saved all of us. But the worst part of my story is not my story. It is my children. I have 3 children, and 2 of them had a urinary tract infection when they were younger. And same as me, no signs of infection, negative cultures. Nobody wanted to help them. I knew that my children had an infection. I knew they had an infection. I knew how much pain they were going through, and no doctor wanted to give them medicine because the test said that there was no infection. My boy had it for 2 years before somebody helped me. For 2 years before somebody gave him antibiotics. And it finally went away, and I don't know if it went away completely or if it went dormant like it happened to me. But I want there to be doctors out there if my children never have problems when they grow up like I did. My daughter, it took me a while to find someone who gave her medicine. My daughter got lucky because on one of her cultures, I kept telling them to do another culture and do another culture and do another culture until one of them finally showed something. And because of that culture, they finally treated her. But my boy went through 2 years, and my boy has autism. Life is not easy for him already. It was the worst 2 years of my life. So I hope that more doctors, we have beautiful doctors already that treat us, like Dr. Bundrick. I'm under Dr. Bundrick's care. I'm free of pain now. I have no more fevers, and I'm happy again. I am still on medicine. I'm probably gonna be on medicine for a while because I have, he says, probably not just a colony of bacteria in my bladder wall. I probably have parasites and everything that hiding in that bladder wall, layers and layers, layers deep. So no doctor will be able to tell you there's just anything wrong with you. So you do have to go find the right doctors. Go find Joanne's page. Go find the right doctors. There is cure for this. There is treatment. It's not easy, but there's hope. And we hope that more doctors will listen and pay attention and not just throw us into the IC category and tell us that we're going to live with this pain for the rest of your life. You're not. Go find the right doctors and you will find yourself so much better. You'll be happy again. You'll be able to do things again. You're not going to be stuck in your toilet all day. So go and find that page if you have someone who has had problems with infections. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cry. Go share the Facebook page with them. Go share this video with them. It might help someone. So I just want to share my story so people can be aware and can find the right people, the right doctors to get better. Thank you.